It is truly astounding what your voice can do. Your voice is an instrument. It is agile and complex, and most people have no idea what they can do with their voice. We get stuck with these voices that we just these habitual voices that we use all the time, and we don't really explore the full opportunity, the full potential of what we can do with our voices. I want to talk to you about something today that falls under what I call the 5 principles of projection. So in the way that I teach, projection is not about being loud, it's about being heard. How well are you heard by your audience? And that's a lot more than just volume. That's about, articulation and intention and all sorts of things. The thing that I want to talk about today is how you can cut through noise. Because sometimes we're not in our basement or our bedroom and it's just us and the microphone. Sometimes there are other people around when we're speaking. Sometimes we're at a networking event and there's a really loud fan, or there's people talking, or we're speaking on stage and there's a lot of ambient sound going on. Sometimes we're at a pub or a nightclub and we don't want to shout and compete with the music. So I'm going to teach you some tricks today to separate your voice from the background sounds around you so that it's easier to be heard without having to speak more loudly. Because what you don't want to do, especially you don't want to do, is you don't want to be speaking from the throat. You don't want to push from the throat like this. I mean, you never want to do that, even when you're being louder. Talk to me about breath support. That's a whole other thing. But sometimes we are in a situation that even being louder in a healthy way wouldn't help us. So sometimes, say you're somewhere where there's really loud music and there's a thump, thump, thump going on, and you have perhaps a lower voice, and you are competing directly with that thump, thump, thump. The temptation is to speak louder so people will hear you better. But because you're in the same frequency as that thump, 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 it's just going to muddy what you're saying. So there are 2 things that you can do to separate your voice from everything else that's going on. The first thing you can do is change your pitch. So if the noise is kind of a lower register, you might want to speak a little bit more into your face. So if you direct your voice into your face mask, and I'm not talking about disassociating your voice from yourself, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about speaking still from your core, but speaking from your core through your face so that it just brings out the higher frequencies a little bit more. This is often called a brighter sound. It's quite bright. And what I'm doing is I'm just letting the vibrations of my voice, when they come up and out through my mouth, instead of coming straight out through my mouth, they're coming through my cheekbones. You can also do it through the nose, but that tends to be really annoying. And then your listenability goes way down. So don't do it through your nose. Do it through your cheekbones so that it's bright enough to separate itself from the thump, thump, thump. But we're not going into that really annoying nasal territory. Similarly, if there's a higher pitch going on and you have a higher voice, then you would bring your voice down into the lower registers. So even though it wouldn't be louder, because typically if we go lower, we're not always as loud, the facial mask really accentuates volume as well. But even if you are lower in volume, like you're not as loud, if your voice is separate from the sounds that are going on around you, it will still be easier to hear you. The human ear loves separating sounds. I mean, this is why we love music, because we get to listen to, oh, there's the flute, and oh, there's the violin, and oh, there's the drums, and we get to separate all of those different sounds. We love doing that. Our ears love doing that. So if you can separate your sound by pitch from what's going on around you, you will be heard more easily. The other thing that you can do, say you are competing and the sound is so noisy and it's kind of in a whole bunch of frequencies, so pitching isn't going to help you. The other thing that you can do is you can over-articulate what you are saying. And the reason that this works, it feels like it shouldn't work, but the reason that this works is because volume is carried by the vowel sounds, but meaning is carried through the consonants. So if you over-articulate, you could almost whisper, and you will still hear what I am saying when I whisper. You whisper, I whisper, you know what I mean? Because it's the consonants that chop the words up, chop the sounds up into meaning. So when we really hit those T's and those S's and those D's, those consonants make it so much easier for the brain to parse what you're saying, to separate the sound into little packages of meaning called words, that it's so much easier for the brain to do that we compensate for that lack of volume. Vowels can bring a lot of volume. Think of opera singers. But you can't necessarily hear the words. You can't necessarily hear what they're saying. It's just sound. So it's very expressive in that very visceral way. But if we want to get the meaning across, we can over-articulate and even whisper in someone's ear. Say if you were at a pub or something, you can lean close and really over-articulate, and they will still hear what you have to say. So that is my tip on how to cut through the noise. If you are someone who is a bit more introverted, you don't feel comfortable being loud, or you don't want to push your voice, or maybe your voice is damaged and you need to make sure that you're really looking after it, then these tips are really going to help you at any time where there's any sort of background noise. Separate your pitch from whatever's going on and over-articulate in any situation so that you can be heard more clearly. Stay tuned for more tips every week. And until then, my name is Danielle Benson. I'll see you next time.